Nova Lifestyles is a newly formed small business in Ryde, but is focusing on the health and well-being sector. Sara Mousley founded Nova Lifestyles in mid-2009 and has already launched the island's first health and well-being directory. But Nova Lifestyles do much more than just produce a directory, as Sara told us.
It's about finding out what the barriers are between the therapists and the mainstream healthcare as to how we can actually facilitate joining those two types of care together and integrating complementary health into mainstream health. At the moment, the dialogue isn't perhaps quite as open as it needs to be to achieve that in a much more structured way, and that's where Nova Lifestyles comes in as a facilitator for that.
So how's the directory been received?
It's been received remarkably well. I've had some wonderful comments. People like the look of it. I was very pleased with the way that it looked. It's very pick-upable, and once you've picked it up, obviously that's the first step, it's actually very readable. It's not full of high-tech stuff. It's about health and well-being at the level where everybody can understand what we're trying to say. For the local NHS, they've actually offered to distribute it right across all staff areas and patient areas at the hospital. And from that, I've had a few of our local doctors, medics, phoning up asking if they can put some contribution in there for the next edition, which is absolutely fabulous because that's a great endorsement from them.
So does the customer have to buy this magazine, or is it free to them?
No, it's absolutely free to anyone and everyone that picks it up. It's funded through advertising, like so many of our free editorials and publications are on the island. And okay, we do look to make a profit, but to begin with, it's going to be pretty hard graft. But we've had a lot of interest, and we've had quite a few people for this next edition. Quite a few people phoning up and asking if they can go in there. So that's really encouraging.
So how did you go about setting up your business?
Deciding on a name is a nightmare. Followed swiftly by deciding on a brand and a logo, which is a nightmare, but we got there in the end, and I believe we've come up with the right thing. But that's terribly important to get right, because if you pitch that wrong, then you've got to start all over again. And of course, then it's how do you pay for what it is that you want to do. So I dutifully did my business case and went trotting off to my bank, and surprise, surprise, despite the fact that we're in a recession, or so they tell us, they were more than happy to lend me some money. So that's what initially got me off the ground. In doing so, we've been fortunate enough as a company to be awarded the Barclays, it's the Trading Places Awards. We were voted one of the top 100 companies in the UK for this award, which was all about setting up and running a business that's changed your life. And obviously this business has changed my life a great deal. I don't think I've ever worked quite so hard. However, because I love what I'm doing, it really doesn't feel like working. Had a tremendous amount of support from Business Link right from the outset. I've done all the setup courses. I'm continuing to have training through them. They've got a wealth of information and have been really, really supportive, right down to taking copies of my directory as well.
So have you been surprised by how much is involved in setting up a business?
Well, having done my initial training with Business Link and finding out the bare bones of how I go about that, I have to say that it is an enormous task, especially when what we're trying to do as an organisation isn't just about producing a directory. It's not just about setting up a network. It's about holding training sessions to support networks, holding training sessions to support the local businesses. It's about building a centre of excellence on the island, which is a huge task. So I was obviously going to have to find somebody to help me with that, and this is where my business advisor and my mentor, every single person who runs a business should have a mentor. And I've found the most fantastic lady, and she's helped me with all the forecasting, all my figures, and okay, I'm beginning to get my head around it. It's so vital, because without keeping track of where you are and where you're wanting to go, you can lose it so quickly. And obviously, in a time of recession, you've got to be very aware of what your challenges are and meet them before they happen.
How much market research did you do before you took these ideas and ran with them?
Market research is an interesting one. It's almost like you've got to have something before you ask the question, but then you've got to ask the question before you get the something. So it was really going around and talking to people, visiting conferences, speaking with the local NHS, with members of the council, but more on an unofficial basis, just getting a feel for what it is that people want, and keeping abreast of what's going on nationally, obviously with the government really promoting health and well-being, especially in the workplace. We know that there's something required out there, and it's just finding out what it is that people want at local level. But the launch that we had in July was very helpful because we had obviously feedback sheets. A lot of our therapists felt that there wasn't sufficient marketing training out there for them in particular. There is marketing training on the island, but not necessarily specifically for our therapists and practitioners. So obviously, if there's a gap in the market, that's exactly what we're going to provide, and that's what our first training session is going to be on marketing.
So look forward 5 years, and what do you hope to see with your business then?
Oh, 5 years is a long time. I believe in 5 years we will have definitely achieved one of our first long-term goals, which is to set up a centre of excellence for health and well-being on the island. And of course, the idea of what we're doing now is to set the foundations for that, not the physical foundations, but the virtual foundations as a company. We're looking for investors, obviously, because it's going to be a multi-million pound project. But having got that all set up and working, the whole idea then is to actually roll it out onto the mainland. Okay, 5 years might be too soon for global, but hey, 7 years, yeah, the world will be our oyster, I'm sure.
So, do you have any advice for somebody else, sitting around thinking, oh, maybe I could start a business? What would your advice be?
My advice is, first of all, if your passion is there and it's great enough, you can actually manage exactly what it is that you want to achieve. It's about the motivation, it's about the energy behind the idea, but it's also really, really important to plan. Plan ahead, plan well, don't overstretch yourself, be realistic, but be passionate, because you can actually achieve far more than you probably think you can just by getting the energy behind you, and bring round you your dream team. There are people out there that believe the same way that you do. If you can bring them around you and into your dream team, then absolutely anything is achievable. But planning, keep an eye on those finances, be realistic, and you'll be fine.
That sounds like really good advice, and we're very impressed with what you've achieved so far, and I'm sure you'll go on to great things. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.